The Book of Lamentations is a short, but deeply emotional book in the Old Testament, known for its poetic lament over the destruction of Jerusalem. Traditionally attributed to the prophet Jeremiah, it expresses the sorrow of the Jewish people after the fall of Jerusalem to the Babylonians. This book teaches us about grief, repentance, and the hope for God's mercy. Though not directly named, the authorship of Lamentations is traditionally attributed to Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. The language and themes of grief mirror his emotional prophecies in the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah, a witness to Jerusalem's fall, composed these 5 poems as a reflection of the sorrow and suffering of his people in exile. Lamentations opens with a heart-wrenching description of Jerusalem's destruction, chapters 1-2. The once glorious city is now desolate, its people exiled, and its temple destroyed. The book teaches us about the consequences of sin, as the destruction of Jerusalem was a result of the nation's rebellion against God. Lamentations shows that sin has devastating consequences on both individuals and communities. Lamentations is unique in its exploration of the depth of human sorrow and grief. Each chapter is a cry of despair, with expressions of pain, loss, and mourning. This teaches us that it is okay to grieve deeply, and that expressing our emotions, even our anger and sorrow, is a natural response to tragedy. Lamentations allows readers to sit in their grief while still acknowledging God's presence. In Lamentations, there is a clear acknowledgement that Jerusalem's downfall was a direct result of its sin. The people had forsaken God, and their punishment was deserved. However, the book also teaches us about repentance. In their sorrow, the people of Judah cry out for forgiveness, seeking God's mercy. Lamentations emphasizes that true repentance requires both an acknowledgement of sin and a desire for change. One of the most significant themes in Lamentations is the balance between God's justice and His mercy. While God's judgment was just, the book also reveals that His mercies are new every morning. Lamentations 3:22-23. This teaches us that even in the darkest moments of life, there is hope for restoration and redemption. God's mercy remains available, even in the midst of suffering. The 3rd chapter of Lamentations stands out because of its focus on hope. Despite the suffering, Jeremiah writes, "Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed." This chapter teaches us that God's faithfulness and love are unfailing, even when everything around us seems broken. It reminds readers that God's goodness is constant, and His compassion never fails. Throughout Lamentations, Jeremiah continually reminds the people of God's past faithfulness. He teaches us the importance of remembering God's promises and His work in our lives, especially in times of despair. By recalling God's faithfulness, we can find hope in His ability to restore what has been broken. This book teaches us to trust in God's character, even when we do not see immediate relief from our suffering. Lamentations teaches us the importance of endurance and faith in the face of suffering. Though the people of Judah were facing devastation, Jeremiah encourages them to wait on God's deliverance, knowing that His mercy would come. The book emphasizes the need for patience and trust, reminding us that God's timing is perfect, even when our circumstances seem overwhelming. Though written thousands of years ago, the Book of Lamentations remains deeply relevant today. Its exploration of grief, loss, and repentance resonates with anyone who has experienced hardship or suffering. It teaches us that, while life can be painful, God's mercy is always near. Lamentations offers a path through sorrow, showing us how to grieve while holding on to hope in God's faithfulness. The Book of Lamentations teaches us about the consequences of sin, the depths of grief, and the hope found in God's mercy. Through the destruction of Jerusalem, we learn that repentance and seeking God's forgiveness are vital. Yet, even in our sorrow, we can trust in God's compassion, knowing that His mercies are new every morning. Lamentations gives us hope for restoration and redemption. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Book of Lamentations. We hope this journey has deepened your understanding of God's justice, mercy, and the importance of repentance. May the lessons of Lamentations inspire you to seek God in times of suffering, and trust in His promise of restoration, even in the darkest moments.